Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than this, a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+, as well as Discovery+, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best, only from Verizon.
And welcome back to the grand finals of VCT Verizon Game Changers, where C9 White are one map up against CLG Red. I'm Yingsu, and I'm joined by Vansili and Jess. Welcome back, guys. And Vansili, we're onto match point already, but that map was so close, and very little separated those two teams.
Definitely, there was a lot of back and forth from both of these teams, and it shows that, as we mentioned during the broadcast with Jess, both of these teams really wanted. They want to be crowned the first champions of the VCT Game Changers, and even for CLG being, I would like to say, the heavy underdogs of this matchup. Any team going up against Cloud9 White would be the heavy underdogs going to the grand finals. To put up a 13-11 scoreline, close but no cigar, you still have to be happy of how close you've made it versus C9, though.
You really do. I think that's going to be the statement that I carry through this entire series, because I put a lot of weight on Icebox. On map number 1, it wouldn't matter if Icebox was map 2, 3, it didn't matter to me. This was the map that really solidified in my head. Will CLG have enough in the tank to push C9 White over and take this series? It was close, you're right, no cigar, but if there's no cigar on this map, Vans and Yinsu, then I don't think there's cigars on any other map. I'm going to be honest with you, I really don't think there's a greater map for them to have the dominance that they showed on this map. I think Icebox was it. I hate to be negative Nancy, but my heart drops for CLG because it was a great map, but C9 White on other maps, they're terrifying.
I do feel like both teams had mistakes. Both teams were definitely winning a couple rounds that we didn't expect them to win. Losing a 5v3 is not great, and also C9 White sort of falling to this defuse, even though they have enough players left. CLG Red even. It's so hard to say C9 White and CLG Red.
You could be like me and say CLG 9 and you just cover all bases.
Yeah. Well, with CLG, they are holding down the diffuse. Pros don't fake. This really could have gone either way. But Jess, do you feel like there is, a crack here and there in this C9 White team? Or do you feel like you said, the other maps, they're just not going to show those cracks?
I have two minds about it, Yinsu. My first thought about it is that this would be one of the weakest C9 maps by far on my list that I've got here, and I wouldn't find them to be as confident on this map, and it kind of showed to me the mistakes they made. I haven't seen them make before on other maps, or it could just be that they've come into this playdate and they've met their foe in the side of CLG. So I am in two minds of it. Either CLG are playing just as great as C9, and this is C9's lower tier map on their list of what they want to go to, or C9's just warming up into the fray. We get into the other maps and they absolutely start blasting through it. So for me, I'm going to sit on the fence, and the proof will be in the pudding, really.
I agree with that too. And even looking at the series, though, if you're looking at CLG, the victories that they've had, I think for both of these teams, though, there is a bit of footage that you can look at, right? C9 White, they had the double overtime versus Moon Raccoons yesterday. It went double overtime. You have a 13-11 scoreline for CLG versus MR, but then they also had a 13-8, a 14-12 versus TSM and Awa Awa, a 13-0 versus Manila Frogs. So as much as CLG could look very good on a map like Haven, where both of these teams are currently at 100% win rate, I still feel that you might have to give this edge to Cloud9 White, because this is their home ground map.
I mean, they still haven't dropped a map yet, which is kind of crazy, even in the grand finals. Before we move on, I just really quickly wanted to highlight Annamel, because although you guys didn't really see her actual KD on that graphic, 18 assists. Wow. 18 assists on this map, on the Sage. She is so effective. She's getting those plants down. She's using her wars. I think her utility usage is great as well. And also, we do have to remember, she also, I think, got a 5 KDA before on that battle Sage in the past. For a region that undervalues this agent, Vansili, how happy are you to see someone properly utilizing her?
Definitely, I think, but I think for Icebox in general, a lot of the teams are starting to really value that Sage into the map, right? If you don't have a Sage on a map like Icebox, you cannot get any plants. If you don't have a Sage into your roster on this map, you cannot get any attacker rounds. If that wall gets broken, or if she dies first as the agent into your team, the chances of you winning that round is gonna like just drop. So for her to be able to utilize that wall perfectly to put those walls, to put those plants down, and allow CLG to get those rounds on the attack, it definitely did help them to make things a little bit closer and give them more chances on the defender side. So definitely you have to give it to Animel from the way that she's played it. You mentioned the double digits on the assist. That is a lot that she does, right? That means slow orbs that she also catches onto her opponents, the heals that she's also putting in for her teammates. That means that she's staying alive quite often too.
I'm going to have to cut you off before you jump in, because I did just quickly, as you guys were talking, run through my stats. For the entire playoff, she had the highest assists of our entire team on the attack by far. Like, I'm talking double digits by far. You add these 16, did you say, Yinsu, in the total?
18.
To the 18 to the total 12 that she had. We're hitting the 30 bombs plus higher just in assists. This player is making a huge impact in the server. Whether or not they're capitalizing on kills as a whole, it doesn't matter, because those assists are going to somewhere. They're enabling someone in the team, and that's all that matters. Round win's a round win.
We got to give those supports some more love. I feel like they're very undervalued. Now we are going to move on to Haven. This is the next one. It is 4 maps in this series, but with that 1 map advantage for Cloud9, this is actually match point. But Jess, what are some of the win conditions here for CLG? Because they're also very strong on this map.
Yeah, I was looking through a lot of what they have in win condition wise, and it says bomb, defuse, kills, bomb, defuse, kills, post-player, bomb, defuse, and kills. So it looks like they've got a lot under their sleeve, whether or not they're just going for the kills, whether or not they're going for defuse as, you know, as the defenders and whatnot on their win conditions there, or they're just going for those plants as a whole. I would say that by the looks of the stats, just purely off the playoffs alone, it doesn't bother them how they get the round done. They're very flexible. And having a flexible team on a map like this is so ever important. You can't just be the team that only can win. I would say on Icebox, we saw a lot of very aggressive attacking plants within the first 20 seconds. If that's the only way you can win, then that's not boding really well for you.
Well, this is it, you guys. This is a match point for Cloud9, but it's not over yet for CLG. Red, Vansili, I'm very much looking forward to the Astra on this map. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much, Insu. Exactly that. That was my win condition looking into Cloud9 as well. Is they have a very different roster here, Jess. Cloud9 going into this map versus what CLG would have on their roster, because Animal is still going to stay as a Sage into this map, while Cloud9 White will bring out their Astra. But for both of these teams, they're both very good on the defender side, despite these different compositions.
Oh, we're going to see the big old Jazzykins come ripping out with the rays. That's what I like to see. And you spoke about the Astra as well. Katsumi, you actually, we always talk about Katsumi, or Kat, as you can see her on your screen, being one of those players that takes on the role of, I wouldn't say a difficult agent, but someone that you would always expect to be able to make that is a difference maker in a lot of those rounds. They're starting on the attack here. So is Astra going to be the kicker here? We saw in other maps, yes, it was. So whether or not Haven is going to be a little bit of a repeat of that, this was actually where I was introduced to Astra, and you know, shout out to Mitch, man, who unfortunately doesn't really know how Astra works too well these days. He's going to get popped by it left, right, and center. But for me, on this particular map, especially when it's series point, Astra could be the difference maker. It really could. I do want to point out Mel and stuff like that, but you do have to look. Jazzykins in, subbed in. You got Katsumi on the Astra. These are big agents, big players with big hits. Vans, is it last map or not? You got to get off the fence. I'm asking you, which side of the fence are you on now? Where is this map going?
I think if I have to be honest, I think this might be a last map right now, unfortunately. I think Cloud9 White is going to take this one too. We're looking at winning conditions, as you mentioned before here, Jess. It was like spike diffuses, kills, and stuff like that for CLG. Both of these teams looking very good on the defense. So for CLG to be able to take the defender side first, you're hoping that they're going to be able to pick up 8-9 rounds here into this half to have a chance, but if not, it's going to be very slim. And to kick things off here for this third map of the Grand Finals, it is going to be CLG pushing down towards this mid side. As they're looking for this map control, it is them working down towards this mid, but for the rest of C9 White, they are pushing in towards the C site. So a dash from Katie to get in. We also have the smokes coming out from their Astra, so the Nebulas to block out towards the spawn and garage. It's going to be a 5 versus 5 retake here for CLG Red. So as we talked about in these matchups, always having these retakes so far for both of these teams, this is not unfamiliar territory, and it's still going to be Benita that gets the first blood. Jessica's trying to retaliate so far as this battle is ensuing at the bottom of the C site. It is still going to be C9 White at a 1-player disadvantage, but it is going to be Mel. Who else than her to try to clutch a 2 versus 1, the turret to come out, but it is also a smoke. It's going to be so hard for her to capitalize on these kills. Rise also takes it, takes the upper hand, and puts the scoreline at 1-0 here in favor of CLG Red. So as we continue forward,
well, I did lose you there for a bit, Vance. Purely out of the fact that you actually muted me out. I wasn't sure if you were speaking or not, so I just let you run with it. My bad. I figured you were doing the first round justice there on the pistol round. So if you all didn't hear me, I was just letting Vance run with it, ladies and gentlemen. He muted me out, so I was like, all right, take it then.
I was at 480p right now on my camera, so I was trying to fix a lot of things. It seems though I muted myself by accident. My apologies, Jess. So yeah, we're moving into the second round though with CLG Red winning that pistol.
Well, there you go. Unfortunately, I did miss a little bit of it, but that's how I expected it to go. Oh my god, I'm getting deja vu. I've seen that position before. I've seen those double kills kick off, and what a shame, because for Naomi, she's in the prime position here. It was actually a rush through garage over on the C. You can't really change that when you're in that particular position, and you need to wait for your teammates for the retake. They do attempt it here, fans, but I'm worried because there's only one left. Could be Jazzikins, and she'll go down to the hands of Chobo, and I'm a little bit worrisome here because that is 2 very fast rounds, very confident rounds in the hands of C9 White, but it's only the first few rounds. You love to warn me. Jess, pistol round, non-full buy round, don't put a lot of stock into it because you can't really read into how a game is going to go based off those first few rounds.
Correct. Even this one is still going to be a slight question mark for CLG Red, right? They're going to have a bonus. You're going to have Naomi here with the Sheriff. Naomi, by the way, is one of those players I wanted to highlight going into this series because when we talked about how good Chobo is, how good Benita is, one player that has been consistent for me throughout the whole Game Changers has been Naomi as well for CLG Red, playing as a Sentinel. So playing as a Cypher or playing as a Killjoy has been playing those numbers up on the double digits quite often, into the 20 bombs even for CLG Red. So if she's able to pop off like she did in the previous games, not like she did on Icebox because she didn't see that much action, here she could put a huge impact and also help CLG Red move forward.
Look at that ultimate popped out. It's actually a really good position. It's going to force a few of these players to have to move on around it. We like to siphon these players into particular positions. C9 decides that, yeah, you can pop that there, and it means that we can come over and take A and get the spike down. Good read onto the position there of the defenders as they did start moving around, but the aggression from CLG initially didn't net anything. Now they're going to have to play for the retake. Do they have enough abilities for the win condition? I'm not entirely sure.
And so far, it's like the third round that we see a 5-on-5 retake. A gravity well to a nanoswarm. We love to see those kinds of combos, and that's going to be Mel that's going to be credited for the kill. Meanwhile, though, on this bonus, it's not paying off for the defenders. Chobo's on her lonesome, picking up the Vandal left behind. Is she going to try to save it into the next round or just make it more expensive for C9 White? Have them buy with the spike, try to get these kills. The first one onto Jazzikins, going back long range versus Anitro, connects onto that one as well, and that is going to be the first point on the board for C9 White. A save Vandal, but still a good victory for the attackers.
Well, I'm just looking through it now as they do get that buy happening. I'm looking over towards Jazzy. She's going to pop on in. Everything's looking pretty good for C9. Are you seeing anything here? I mean, we're seeing a lot of zero. So really, they're just forcing out whatever they can get their hands on for this particular round. I'm a little bit worried because initially I thought it was C9 to begin with, and then my whole overlay switched. So now I'm completely seeing, I can hear you, I can see everything correctly as on my screen as I didn't start off with. This actually looks really good for CLG, even though they lost that last round.
It is definitely looking good right now because they do have that weaponry. They do have the Vandals, but they don't have that operator yet, right? That we could see. But this time, we don't know really if we're going to see that a lot coming out of Benita because she's not playing with that Reyna. She's going to have that information out with that Sova. As you can tell, she's going with the recon dart, and she also got canceled out on the ult right away. So with that, we're taking advantage for C9 to push into the A site. A showstopper to stop Benita, but it quickly gets traded out by Rise in the back of the site. It's going back and forth as C9 White regains the advantage, and are going with the multiple smokes towards the spawn site, and finally a plant to come down.
It's always these post plans that worry me because we saw before that gravity well with the nanos. I mean, that was a beautiful little combination there. Here we go. We're seeing again that Naomi, this particular spot in the map, that's going to be a critical part of their ingress onto the retake. They know exactly where she is and she'll get slowed out as a result, but you can't stop her. You can slow her down, but she can still hit hard. And Kat says, that's fine by me. I know exactly where you are. And, I'm telling you, this back and forth is throwing me through an absolute loop here, Vans. I'm getting whiplash left, right, and center as these rounds are going back and forth. I expect that to start off with, especially as money starts to, dwindle as rounds and bonuses start to collect and on both sides of the coin here. My problem is now that once we get to, I'm going to say the 6th round, I'm going to be paying much more attention as to which way the momentum's going as these teams start to, sort of quell out.
Look at a strategy, though, for CLG. They're actually investing into a glass cannon operator into this round, this time not in the hands of Benita. It's going to go for Chobo. But not only that, she has the glass cannon. We have a couple of Sheriffs and a Bucky. So a recon dart pushes that out of position where Benita's not going to get info to try to fight back towards lobby, and she loses it. So this is going to be even harder for Chobo to try to hold back with the operator.
All she needs is one good hit here to get the numbers advantage that they would need, or, numbers evening that they need. You can see the blue swarms of silhouettes running over towards A. They know what's happening, and I said one shot is all it takes. And it's on to the lady herself who you were hyping before. This use of the ultimate there, and that means the Jazzikins will be able to pop off on this particular round. She was brought in as a sub onto this map because she doesn't play Icebox, but that's okay because all she needs to do is pop off on this map to make it a series win here for C9. Confident round, couple more rounds and they keep this up, Vans, and I think I'll be turning myself into a C9 White fangirl.
and they're on that previous round. Chobo now deciding, is she going to go with a rifle? I would have to guess that she will. My questioning there is pulling out the Blade Storm. I get it that she wanted to go aggressive and try to hold down towards that long. But I think the idea looking at it is that if she actually did die into that previous round, she could save the Blade Storm into this one here, while the rest of them would get rifles, and then potentially she'll have enough money to go for an operator the following round. But then again, this is still not too bad. Playing aggressively with this Vandal is still going to pay off because we've seen how good she's been with those shots 2 rounds ago when she was trying to save that Vandal into that round number 3. So far so good, but she gets pinged out back into the site, and it's 3 players from CLG Red that is going to try to hold their ground towards this A-side push from C9 White.
You should run.
It's unfortunate for Chobo. She's been pressured by boom bots and recon bolts and everything in her particular position there. She knows that she wants to play aggressive, but they've forced her back multiple times. She'll take a lot of HP, and finally they dispatch of her. Jazzikin, she is the unsung hero of C9 at the moment. She's been doing everything she can on the ingress on the site. They're going to ping out a couple of these plays, and you can see that ultimate for Killjoy as well on the board. Unfortunately, it's not going to do the job that they intended it to do in a 2v4. Is this an uphill battle for CLG Red? I would say it's a mountainous this uphill battle.
Definitely. At least Benita is using her boots with the clamps, moving up towards this hill. She does get the first kill, but now she's also going to be the last player standing as she spots a second one towards the A cubby. This should be it. You should see her trying to fall back and save her weapon, but she's about to get flanked by Katsumi. And speaking of Katsumi, she's one of those players now for C9. Not only can she be a clutch player, she's also going to be the lurk player for the team, usually on this map, because she has to set up her players as this Astra player. But as this spike is going to go off, the round is definitely going to go in here for C9 White. We're just questioning if Benita could save her weapon here, and it looks like she will be able to.
Well, that's going to be an important save here for Benita. And a welcome round there for C9 White fans alone. And I'm a little bit questioning. You asked me in map number 1 here, Vans, if I felt confident, or rather Yinsu asked us both, really, if we felt confident that moving into future maps, is C9 White looking strong? They showed a few weaknesses, a few cracks in their strategy in map number 1. I actually think that's carried over into this map. I am not seeing the explosive and powerful and full of panache C9 White that I'm used to seeing, even though they are a couple of rounds up. So far, I haven't been filled with confidence with them yet. So this is CLG's opportunity to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and especially when we're talking about a better defender side for CLG Red, you kind of want them to take advantage of those that momentum that is still looking to be found from C9, but this is starting to look a little bit too late. You see that momentum already shift towards Cloud9. They start off with 3 kills. Now with the Bucky, close range for Animal, drops Katie, but here comes the saddle charge from Jazikin. She connects with the second one. So as it looks so good here for C9 White at the beginning, it gets tallied down. The momentum gets slowed down at the same time. At least here, it's going to be an easy backstab, and we're going to have C9 White going for 6 rounds and a plant into this. 5 rounds and a plant into this half.
You know, I have a feeling Mel heard what I said. I said they weren't very flashy. They weren't, you know, the usual panache that we see from C9 White. And then Mel's like, multi-kill, headshots only. And I'm like, okay, I'll shut up now. You keep it flashy for me, girlfriend, because that's what I was trying to get you to do. Reverse psychology. That's how it works, fans.
Definitely. And when you look at it from CLG Red's perspective, like they're really getting into these sites for Cloud9, and you're seeing them attempt to go for these retakes. Even when they're trying to fight back versus Cloud9, oh no, that's timing. She had a perfect lineup for this kill, but she decides to unscope. This is the second time this happens, and we have a Cosmic Divide to come out. We have Shot Hunter Spear. We have all of our ultimates pretty much for C9 White moving in. That's true, that's been activated. We're looking for the Blade Storm. We're looking for the quick flanks, and as they're trying to run, it's usually not heard on the other side of that barricade from the Cosmic Divide, but as soon as you cross that wall, it was heard on that flank, and Joe got the kill. And now you're just going to have the last 2 players forced to fall back and save your weapon. So what I was trying to say here, Mel, when you're trying to go into this in your face for CLG Red, especially like 2 rounds ago when they popped down that Killjoy ult into short A, you saw that Chobo tried to push forward. She tried to fight back. She tried to get the lockdown broken. But the C9 White just seems, again, more prepared into the way they're set up with their composition on this map.
It's almost as if the moment I spoke, they just absolutely whipped out the momentum in their favor, and a 5v2 is how this round will end unless they go hunting. Look at your mini-map. They're going over towards the defending spawn, or rather the attacking spawn, and making sure that they can spot out anyone. No one is to be there to be collected. They are getting a lot closer over towards A, but no one will be spotted, and they will get to keep their weapons into this round, which is very important because money's not looking so good. They want to go to the bank and get a loan, but that's not the place to be right here on this particular map and get one. Because Jazikins, I mean, what's she hitting? 9.62? Nice. We haven't seen a lot of her, and I would just say that's because she's been doing her job quite confidently as sort of the opening first blood or second kill in each round, and that's a confidence you can have in one of your players, especially with this 6-man roster, or 6-woman roster rather.
And it's great to see for Cloud9 because as we don't really mention her name for how she's getting these skills, same thing for Katie, the frag distribution is still quite even for all of Cloud9. So watching them, how they move together as a team towards the site, right? Again, Katsumi, she's that player that's playing that lurk. She's able to get that first kill, but then the res to come out. So that's a lot of information, at least for the C side. And look at the rest of Cloud9. They're pushing as a group into this site, and they're getting the openers. And as I mentioned, Katie not getting these kills, she's getting it right now. Opens up the A site right? It's going to be an easy plant, and now they don't need to rely on that one-player disadvantage after they lost Katsumi. They're trying to figure out where this information's coming from, but as they still have Mel alive, they have the nanoswarms towards that spawn site. They're just looking very good for this pulse plant.
We've got the Owl drone to work with to get a little bit of intel, and that does manage to spot out a couple of those players. Hunter's Fury from Benita. Surely if she places this right, it can absolutely kick things into the favor of the retake here. That barrier, perfectly placed. It's all it needs for Katie now. I mean, she only has to look in 1 to 2 different angles. They know she's there, and thread the needle, Vance, because that's what that barrier wall gave her there. Those knives are going to be absolutely crucial to that round, and I thought with that Hunter's Fury coming out that was going to be a CLG red round. I mean, there are default spots to, stand when you're in a post-played situation, but they're just barely missed.
The idea was perfect, though, for CLG. That wall that came up from Animal was really for them to push as a team, not getting any pressure from that graffiti side, and really take down Mel. But the thing is, you saw that gap, the slight gap that was out there, and, if you're in the UK and you're trying to take the subway, you got to mine for that gap. And Katie took advantage of that to just go for the simple blades through that, because nobody was going to check that corner, was going to check that 50, because they thought that it was covered. And now you're trying to get the blade storm for Chobomi on this side for CLG Red and push down. She's only good for 1 kill, so a slight mistake that turns out to be very costly for CLG Red in that previous round also gives C9 White a 5-round advantage.
Mel's just getting gifted. It's like Christmas in March. Are we even in April yet? I don't even know. Maybe it's an Easter gift.
I want my summer. Let's call it Easter. Easter's good for me.
Cool. They're getting their Easter eggs in an absolute bundle here, and then Mel doesn't even have to do anything for her. She's sitting back, she's getting the sweetness of it, and that's what that C-Long and over towards Dragon gave her. I don't know what the thought process was from CLG Red there. Maybe there was a couple of players thinking they could make hero plays, but unfortunately, those hero plays don't pan out, and you're very likely going to give this round over to C9 White unless a miracle happens. Omen and a Cypher on the board. Hey, 2 players that can make it happen, but you got to hit your shots, ladies, if you want it. And all of a sudden, it's Rise, a very, very consistent player, especially on Icebox. I think this is too much to handle here, though.
She's going to slow things out on the long side, but yeah, Katie was waiting there with the double box. So another round for C9 White. And the thing is, right now, is you're trying to figure out why they're pushing so aggressively for CLG Red. The thing is with Valorant is, taking map control for the defender side is something that's very important. Sometimes you want to try to go for, let's say a map like Haven, you have these peaks towards out the garage side sometimes to surprise if you have a Phoenix, for example. Or you're trying to pinch out towards this B side if you have more flashes into your team. But you're looking at the composition that CLG has. The only flash that they have is a Paranoia from Rise. So they can't really go for like a huge surprise attack if they want to. They have to rely on a surprise attack from Recons. So you saw that Recon guard from the long C and try to use the Blade Storm from Chobo to try to catch some plays off guard. But as you have nothing to try to fall back because you don't have these flashes, that's where they kind of got punished at the same time. Not saying that it was a bad play for them to do that, but it was definitely like a nice attempt to try to get the control back in their favor.
You should run.
Well, looks like CLG has been pushed much further back here on the A side. Attacker ultimate will come out. Where is that spread? Nice little picture-in-picture will give you a bit of an indication as to how far that will go. Does it hit Heaven as well? Yes, surely it does. And Katie comes zooming onto site. She hasn't been a big hitter on the first map, unfortunately. We called her Carry Katie in the previous series, but she's only now being started to be absolutely activated as the carry of the team. Highest rated player by far. And if you are CLG right now, you got to hit those shots. Katie makes it happen over towards Naomi, and it's gonna be the heaven and hell fight that we're seeing. Angels v Devils. Chobo's gonna be the angel, and well, Katie, she's an absolute monster.
And Rise looking for another clutch attempt on her own. Pushing out towards the hell side is good for Katie to fall, but then after that, Annie swings just across in the back of the default, and that is going to be another round coming in. And for a team here, Jets, that were saying that they had such a good defender side on past matches versus other teams. And we're also talking about how Cloud9 has a very good defense. CLG Red has to find something back. They had to fight back, but these 4-player pushes from Cloud9 just seems to be too much.
I wonder what the answer is here, because I said on Icebox that I felt that CLG had C9 White's number and they knew not to fight fire with fire. They knew to draw them in and then extinguish them once their fire hadn't, caught anything. There was nothing that they could attach, and I thought that was really well played there from CLG. They haven't brought that mentality onto this map, I'm having a strange feeling here that they're just going for those gunfights, but they're being too passive about it. That's a great example there, as if I'm talking and it's a picture book, occurring right in front of the audience here. That's what I'm talking about. If you want to sit in a corner like that, exist a crossfire with your other defender. Otherwise, you're just giving freebies as they swing.
This is very good, though, for Animal, because that alarm bot went down, and she just saw a nanostorm get thrown out towards sewers. So she may think that there's somebody pushing forward, and that was going to be Mel as that killjoy. But look at it. Look at this minimap. Again, 4 players about to push towards one site, 1 lurk. But this time, it's going to be Mel that's lurking because she still has the alarm bot that she still has to protect on that flank. But now she's out of the range, out of that radar. The flank is coming in. But the rest of the push from Cloud9 White is inside this site as Naomi is playing inside the cage. Connects with the Spectre for 2 kills, and even Chobo gets one of her own. So now the spike is down. It's a 2 versus 2. The res comes out for CLG as well. And the Hunter's Fury from Annie Jo does not connect. A fake plant now from Mel. Looking back towards that spawn side, and she's looking to plan for Annie Jo at the long end. Here comes the shock darts on that default spot. Is not going to connect as of yet. And Annie even walks into the slow orb to get the kill onto Chobo. So somehow they've evened it up on a 2 versus 2 on such a chaotic round that looked good for CLG Red from their positioning. But now Mel gets pinged out in the front of the site. They're probably going to have to rely on some great communication from these 2 players, and it works out perfectly for C9 as it's going to be Annie Jo that uses Mel as a bait to get these 4 kills and also to secure the half 10-2.
Beautiful bit of play-by-play casting there, Vance. Just gonna give a little bit of claps at the end there. I was absolutely enthralled. I was sitting here watching the game as if I was a viewer, absolutely taking it all in. That was exciting. And the reason that was exciting is what Annie did by pushing through that slow orb. The reason she had to do that and cover the garage angle was because unfortunately her teammate was trying to still deploy abilities and utility over towards spawn. She needed to cover that angle because she knew that her teammate was trying to deploy a turret at the time, was trying to get that spawn angle. That's something that as a teammate, you either communicate or you just know. You use your initiative and your game sense to go, hang on, my teammate's not able to deal with this. They're about to get pinched. I got to step up and be the difference maker. And Annie, 9 times out of 10 over this series has been that 1vx clutch difference maker round and round again. Good on her for being able to pull it out after a pretty shaky start to Icebox. That's the kind of teammate you want.
Yeah, definitely. And looking at the shakiness, it's definitely on the side of CLG Red right now. You see from this replay, they're just trying so many different things. The pushes towards the seaside, not working. The slow lurks, the retake plays. It's just C9 White, even after post-plan situations, just have the upper hand on how they're setting up on these post-plans for the Crossfire. So things are looking very tough for CLG. They're taking the attacker side now. It's looking pretty grim here as, again, this is map and series point for Cloud9 White to be able to crown the first winners of the VCT Grand Finals presented by Verizon. So looking at CLG right now, Jess, do you think the answer is just to try to just close your eyes, push forward, and hope for the best, or play default? What do you think they should do here?
You're asking me a question about a team that looked good on their best map.
Yeah.
Still couldn't put it together, had the answer for how aggressive that C9 White can be sometimes. And then they come into this map and they change it up completely. What I would have said was hold on to that same mentality you had on Icebox. It's too late for that now. I mean, maybe you could start shifting the mentality among each of the players and change it up, but they're clearly playing their default here, Vans. And when you're so used to your default working out for you and it doesn't, the adaptation, the game sense, and the mid-round that you need communicative-wise is what will count. And I can't give the girls that. That's just going to be intrinsic to them.
Yeah, and even looking at it so far when they're trying to sell this fake towards the seaside, that doesn't give any information for CLG Red of where Cloud9 White are currently playing. All they did was throw a slow orb through a nebula, and they're just going to try to work back towards this B site. So Katie is hiding in an angle where she's going to be safe. She's going to try to jump towards the air, right-click, and not get the spike carrier, nor even the kill. So you get a spike plant, you're able to fall back, you're healing yourself for Animal, and it's going to be a 5 versus 5 just across this wall, just across this smoke. We're running through right now. Is it still going to be C9 White getting the first blood? But look at all those players towards that front site. It's just going to be a bloodbath. Mel deciding to press forward, but it's just going to be 3 instantaneous kills for CLG Red, leaving only Jazikin at her lonesome. A paranoia. This round should be secured now for CLG Red, and that's it. You see her jumping around. That spike is going to go off no matter what. So CLG Red They pushed as a group, and it works out for them here on that pistol round.
Beautiful bit of observation there to catch that paint shells as it comes through, and attackers, well, they were going to win that either way. They were dancing around over towards window, as Vans pointed out so rightly, but it was a very good effort there from Jazzy. Of course, she manages to get a couple of those kills, a little bit of impact over to the side of CLG, which when you look at the economy, that wasn't a very bad thing at all. And in fact, the amount of kills that you were able to get at the end there in a 1vx situation really bodes well for C9, even though they got their pockets pretty filled at the moment. You want your opponents to be at much detriment as possible. That's what they've given them by leaving it in a 1v1 at the end there. And that's why you look over to CLG now, Spectre, Bulldog, Spectre, not looking too hot, but they can shred with those weapons and they make it count.
Oof, speaking of shredding, though, it's going to be Katie with the first blood, pushing herself. That's what I was talking about. Sometimes you just want to press forward and surprise your opponents on the defender's side, and to do just that. And as they try to regain map control for CLG Red, they met up with Mel's Bucky right inside the garage. So as they go for this buy, the Bulldog and the Spectres, as you're mentioning, Jess, they're already behind by 2 players.
What a damn shame. You want to take that momentum. I can't understate this enough. I feel like I'm a record player on repeat. If you've listened to me this weekend, you will know that momentum in a team, especially when you've got a round win, is super, super important. C9 don't seem phased, and they just want to snatch it out of the hands. It's like taking a lolly from a baby. That's exactly what C9 feel like right now. And as they've got 5... Are they full HP agents? Yes, they are. The attackers are going to try and get that spike down. That's super important. But guess what?
No.
Spike carrier goes down, man.
That was set shock darts too, raining from above, and it's just going to be them pushing out. And now it's Rise on her own. She gets 3, but just not enough. The one that draws first blood is also the one that seals the deal into this round, and that's in the hands of Katie's Sheriff, and that's also going to put CLG Red on an eco or maybe a force buy or whatever. I don't even know at this point here, Jess, what they want to do. I mean, we've talked about on that previous map, they wanted to maybe half buy so they could go for and play for the overtime, but this time it just seems like desperate measures.
Are we almost at series point?
Yeah. They're literally at tie point right now for Cloud9. So this is how fast this map has been going. It looked like back and forth at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the map, but Cloud9's been running away since that round, 6?
Yeah. Unbelievable is what it is. They're going to make a C-long push here, and they want to make it count because they've got short-range weapons to work with. Speaking of short-range weapons, Cat's got one of her own. She'll get 2 for the long. And C9, oh no, they're just making an absolute mess of their opponents here today. That's a match point, baby. And I feel like I haven't been casting for long at all today. I hate to put a dampener on the situation here for all the CLG fans, but I just sat down in my chair. My water bottle's still half full. They got to step it up if we want to go to future maps. Otherwise, I tell you what, every single C9 white fan or C9 fan out there right now is going to go, yep, easy peasy, walk away. That's all right. And the CLG fans are going to go, hang on, that's it? It's over? I mean, I can't believe it either. Let's go, girls. Step it up.
Cloud9 White definitely could taste this victory right now. When they were known as Magical, winning the For the Women's Summer Championship with the Ignition Series from Riot last summer, they're looking to get a second title right now with the VCT Game Changers here in North America, presented by Verizon, and it's C9 just playing it very strong here on the defender side, and they're just holding on the reins. They're not allowing, actually they are allowing right now. Look at Chobo. She's made it through the B side. She's looking for this perfect flank onto Mel, who will not see this coming. First player already down, but a second one is also inside the garage, and she does not connect onto the kill. So an early 4-on-4, but Benita immediately trades that out. That's a C side that's open. That's a battle also towards the back of the C link as Jazzikin is trying to push forward. A shock dart to slow her down, but Katie's also moving out. The rotation's already up for C9 White, and they're looking to go for this retake.
They've got to make it happen. This is map point, series point, entire tournament point, ladies and gentlemen. This is it, CLG. You have the numbers to work with here. This is the first time in a while you've had the woman advantage, I should say, here. And oh, you can hear that spike. They're tapping onto it. C9 White, they want them to peak. They know exactly where Benita is. They've got a number on speed dial, and Vans They've got to put it together here. Surely the timer ticks out. Surely this is a CLG round.
The res is up though, and it's a 2 versus 1. It's spiked halfway onto the fuse, and now they're off it. They're double swinging. The kill from Rise, the second kill from Rise, and she saves the round for CLG Red. Until the next we go.
Woo! Sheesh, baby! That's what we're talking about. Alrighty. Ooh.
That's Rise with clutches.
You know what? Rise has been my favorite. Even if Rise, she doesn't walk away the MVP of this series, because obviously, naturally, you're going to expect one of the C9 White players to walk away. I think Mel, by far, ACS-wise, is going to walk away the MVP of this particular series. But Rise has surprised me. And I hope, for CLG's sake, that after the few series they've had, they look at Rise and they go, yeah, you've been one of our really key players. Well done. We really put it to C9 White. We still got more rounds to go, however, Vans. It is not all over yet. We're painting it a bad picture, but CLG, they can make it bright as day if they push hard.
She definitely rose to the occasion.
Oh, well done, Vans.
She's looking for this
Round of
battle
applause.
towards this long seaside, as at least we have Katsumi that was able to hide towards this corner. This puts C9 White on an equal right now. So it's going to be an open site on either A or C. It's now going to be the A side that's chosen for CLG Red, and also the plant to come in. So we're just going to look for exits at this point. We're just going to try to make it expensive for CLG Red. You have 8 rounds in hand, basically, for Cloud9. This is not a problem.
Speaking of problems, I think Katie's about to come up against one. Jet v Jet, and she... the problem, I take that back, ladies and gentlemen. Katie knows exactly what's going on, and now we have that ultimate coming out from the defenders here. C9 White. Can Benita hit the shots that she didn't last time with the Hunter's Fury? No, she doesn't. That's the problem. And unfortunately, she doesn't get as much damage as she needed there. And, oh, the showstopper. Jazzikins, you were subbed out for map 1, but no, she doesn't make it happen. She can make it happen with bullets instead, man.
How does that pay off? And it's actually a half-buy that they had, but Naomi tries to stay alive. It doesn't work out. The defuse is going to come out for Cloud9, and they are the women's champion of the VCT Game Changers. Cloud9 White over CLG Red.
They brought it ever so close on Icebox, and we said from the very beginning, if you go through the winner's bracket, you get that map advantage, that very crucial map advantage. They walk away very swiftly as the VCT Game Changers, you know, presented by Verizon. Shout out to Verizon. We appreciate you ever so much for getting involved, I'll tell you that much. But they walk away the winners. They were the favorites by far, but that does not diminish what CLG did through the lower bracket, through Moon Raccoons, for example, who we thought would actually be in the grand finals here today. What CLG Red has done here today is a beautiful showing of the standard of the women's teams that are rising throughout Valorant day after day after day. I cannot understate it. What a series.
Yeah, you definitely got to be happy there for CLG Red, but even happier for Cloud9 White to be able to win that one. Even in the last round, I was like, oh, did they actually go for some sort of an equal because they lost a round that they did versus Rise's clutch? But the thing is, they waited at the last second. They waited for the wall to thaw up. They waited to get close on the full rotation. Then you had the Showstopper and the Hunter's Fury. Everything just worked out for C9 White. They just looked very composed for a map that they were comfortable to play in, and just overall in this series. This is Cloud9 White not dropping a single map this whole tournament here.
We were worried that because Icebox was going to be CLG's best and most confident map, especially against C9 White, that their next map in line was Haven, but that was also C9 White's, you know, one of their best maps. Do you really take monsters to their best map? We said maybe, because you might be able to counter them, you might be able to work against them. Yeah, I'm going to tell you what here. It doesn't really matter what you do against C9 White. They're just going to come thrashing through you. You know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for C9 White. They're all in one sitting. And I'm sitting here going, hang on, and I don't have my watch on today, but you all can pretend I absolutely do. There's a hair past the freckle here. That's how long it took for this series to go. And if there's a speed run for finals, I think C9 White have shown that come the next Game Changers, you know, presented by Verizon series, they can come back and defend it and try and beat their speed run high score here. Because, I mean, I hate to put it that way, Vans, but that's what it was, and C9 White fans are going to be absolutely wrapped it went that way.
I mean, nonetheless, you look at the series too. Even though they didn't drop a single map right now for Cloud9 White, they still had some matches that went into the last rounds of regulation, into overtime. So again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it means that they are still beatable for such new teams and new rosters, right? We talked about MR that nobody knows about, and they came in together and almost brought this into a series that they could have won versus C9 White in the upper finals. And then you also look into the lower finals for CLG, even in the grand finals. CLG Red have two players that are basically trying out for the team right now, as their roster is only 3 of them signed so far, and they're still able to make it to the grand finals. But enough of that. It's time to bring Yinsu to ask us the questions so we could break down this whole series and the whole tournament.
Oh, okay. I was very, very nearly muted, but I didn't want to do that.
You don't want to be
one
me.
more time at the finals, yeah. But what a series! I mean, after that first map, I thought this one was going to be really, really, really close as well. And especially, you know, after that pistol, it was kind of like C9Y repeating the same mistakes that they did on Icebox and not necessarily being able to stop CLG from defusing. But pretty much after the first 3 rounds, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. They just ran away with it. And, you know, both of you have said this already, and very well said. But the level of competition is much higher right now in the scene if we sort of ignore these 13-3, 13-0, 13-1 maps. Because if we look at the other series in the other match and what the other teams, even Moon Raccoons, managed to do against Cloud9 White, the standards in comparison to that Ignition series back in September is miles and miles higher, Vansili.
100%, and even the 13-1s and the 13-2s, they're not so bad. They're actually good to talk about because they're actually maps that are being won by teams that are comfortable with that too, right? We're looking at, for example, let's take Awa Awa, and now that it took me 4 days, I finally got the name right, by the way. But they played against CLG and they actually beat them a 13-1, and look who's the team that's making it to the grand finals. It's CLG Red. So despite you have one-sided scorelines, it still shows that the competition is still very good for teams that are basically are forming together for the first time, trying things out for the first time as a team, and still putting good results. And for a team, again, like Awa Awa, they played 2 maps, Bind and Ascent, and they were able to dominate within those 2 maps. Imagine now if their map pool gets deeper as well. Like you said here, Yinsu, the competition will continue to rise for the women's scene here in North America.
It has to. It has to. You've got to think about all of these women moving over from other games as well. That's something that I think a lot of people haven't analyzed correctly, is that they go, actually, you can move over mechanically from one game to another that might be similar in mechanical skill, but there are abilities, there are utility, there are maps, there are callouts, there's game sense, there's environmental awareness. These are all skills that you have to rebuild as a player when you come into a new game like this. And I think the best representation of that is Dignitas. I really want to shout out to that particular organization who has one of the best CSGO rosters in the women's scene. I was lucky enough to cast them, out in Dubai, for example, and see them live and what they are capable of. They come into Valorant. Why aren't they stomping? Because there's a big learning curve as you go from one game to the other. And I think that's something that we're seeing here from these women. You give them a few months to work with it and they can absolutely dominate. Mel from C9 said it best. I'm going to shout out to her. She said, "We know we are one of the most cohesive and coordinated teams that currently exist with the experience. We don't understate that. We play on that fact, and we use that and we manipulate that against teams that aren't as solidified as we are." That's the big kicker here. So if you're sitting there going, no one can beat C9 White, well, they can, given the same time that C9 White had, and then we'll start seeing really big changes.
Oh, imagine seeing the ladies at LAN. I would love to see them play a LAN. It would be so hype. But, just talking about C9 White, 2 big tournaments they have entered. One's at the Ignition series and now Game Changers. They've won both of them. They are really, I guess, in a way, Jess, almost starting like a dynasty, starting an era of C9 White.
It's one of those things that, and we have it over in Siege, for example. A lot of people will know me from Rainbow Six Siege, and we have women's teams in our scene in both North America and Europe that dominate time after time, who are essentially just trying to have revenge match after revenge match. That's what it's going to be now that we've had a couple of women's series occur, and this one's been my favorite by far, and I'm sort of sitting here going, whatever the next one is, that's the third on the chopping block. That's when you put it together and go, is C9 White really the best, or did they just start before everyone else? That's what I'm going to be looking for here as to whether or not there are going to be some real contenders against C9. I expect Moon Raccoons to be one. I expect CLG, once they solidify their roster, to be one. And I do expect that once Dignitas start to slowly get into the rhythm of Valorant as a game, ability, utility, and map-wise, that they will absolutely be on the upswing as well.
Yeah.
So I would say there's about 3 to 4 different teams. Hour is another one that interested me as well. That will be big hitters given enough time. A lot of people underestimate how much time does play a factor.
100%, and even you're talking about LAN here, Yinsu, and we only talked about North American teams. I'm looking forward for the other regions eventually when this is going to develop into the other regions too. Like when even me, I come from Counter-Strike Go, and again in North America, back in my days too, even Counter-Strike 1.6, I was thinking about the SK ladies or the G3X that played also into for the women's summer championship, where they actually did play against Magical, now known as C9 White, and it was a pretty close series into that one. But when you're looking at the Counter-Strike days, it was that team versus like the Zaz and them of like Les Seuls, or now even NXZ or SK Gaming, for example, looking into that one. So the competition continues to be very big between like this EU and NA all the time, and we see that in Counter-Strike, and I'm hoping to see that in Valorant too. So that LAN that we talk about all the time, I just can't wait to see it for all regions and also for all genres.
Well, I mean, over here in Europe, I feel like the European ladies watching this will be very, very inspired. But of course, tonight it's all about C9 White. And we have a quick interview, post-match interview presented by Verizon with Katie. Hi, Katie. Welcome to the stream. Massive congratulations on your win tonight. Of course, it's your first title. The other girls did play together at the Ignition Series and they won. They picked up that one back in September. But what does this mean for you to be able to come into this team and win your first big tournament?
Well, it means a lot, but honestly, it's kind of expected. I think like they, you know, like they won the last one. We've had a lot of time. Every like other team is just forming, and I think I'm like a huge upgrade to the team, and I think I help improve it even like better than they were 3 months ago before I started. So I just think it's expected that we won and didn't drop a map.
I love to hear that. I actually love to hear that. I am so glad that you're able to see the value you're bringing to this team, because honestly, everyone in chat, I've jumped into a lot of watch parties. Everyone is loving you. Everyone is really appreciating and seeing what you're able to bring to this team. But just on that confidence, all 6 of you as a team and your coach as well, you all have so much confidence, you know, even when after that double OT and in those kind of situations, you guys never seem to mentally ever fall off that pedestal. Will you be able to tell me why that is and how you guys sort of work together to make sure that you are able to stay confident?
Well, part of it is like when we're doing scrims and stuff, we scrim and play against like some tier 1 teams and tier 2 teams, and we don't always get stomped by them. We do pretty well against some of them, and it helps our confidence a lot going in against teams that we think aren't as good as those. And also, like, we never like shut down mentally or anything, because everyone on the team is friends, and I think that's like the biggest thing. Like, we're all friends with each other. We've all known each other for a long time. So when people are getting frustrated or vibes are lower, everyone like works together to cheer themselves back up.
Well, it obviously works because I've seen you guys in situations where even I felt like, are they going to drop a map here? But you never falter. You guys always close it out. And Vansili and Jess, do you have any questions for Katie?
I actually do, and it's probably sort of the flip side of your confidence, really. And I call you Carry Katie, so I hope you're okay with that. I just want to confirm with you, like, you know, front on front with you here. Like, it's okay that I call you Carry Katie, but or multi-kill Mel, you can pass it on to her. I love that. I love that sort of saying for her. But do you feel like personally, you said you're really confident in your own abilities, and a lot of people say that you're probably one of the best players on C9, and that confidence grows throughout, and you think you bring an upgrade to the team, which I very much agree with. But do you think that puts a lot of pressure on you? Like, let's say, I want to throw even back to Icebox. I would say that was probably, out of what I've watched over the entire, playoffs, one of your least impactful performances. Does that ever play on your mind? And you just say to yourself, nah, Mel's popping off, I'm all good, I don't need to pop off every map, I know my skill? Is that what you're thinking of?
I think the thing about me is even when I'm having a bad day, my lowest like skill ceiling is still pretty high. So like on that Icebox map, for example, like I was whiffing a lot, but I'm still up there in the frags, you know. So I don't stress out too much about it. But like when I go over it later, of course, I'll be like, well, I could have gotten that kill, or I was whiffing, or blah blah blah. But I still think that like even if I'm playing off, I could still play and like perform and be impactful.
For sure.
That's confidence.
Going on to me,
I would be
Katie,
like Katie.
first off, congratulations. I've been following you since the CSGO days with Mythic, and great to see you moving over here to Valorant and still popping some heads, still clicking hands at the same time too. And you talked about how basically in your answers that, you know, you're the stronger team, you're feeling confident going into this one too. But in general, when you look at your matches yesterday versus MR and even the first one versus CLG on that first map, they've been pretty close. So tell me a little bit more about these teams that are up in the rise or that are just forming together and still put up a good fight against you.
Well, I want to preface this by saying in no way do I think CLG is a bad team. I think they deserve top 3 100%. I playing against Moon Raccoons and CLG, I think Moon Raccoons was the better team, and we expected them to beat CLG yesterday, even though CLG destroyed them, honestly. I think part of that is like Moon Raccoons is a younger team, and like it's hard when you're starting out and like young players to go into multiple BO3s after such a tight game. But I don't know. I think games are sort of close because just like we're being really loose and we're not expecting certain things from teams. But I think we cleaned it up a lot for the game today.
Awesome.
You did more than just that. I can tell you that. But congratulations once again, Katie. It was an absolute joy to be involved in this and seeing you guys sort of blossom and go on to win the tournament. I am rooting for you for the VCT Challengers, and I really need you guys to go to Iceland and come to Europe. I can meet you all and see how you guys fend against European teams. But yeah, once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Wow, I love that. I honestly, I've interviewed a lot of players in my career, and so rarely do you have someone that can see their own value. I really appreciate it when players are humble, of course, like you don't want the player to sort of come up and not be able to back up their chat, but these girls, they're winning. They back it up. They trash talk, but they trash talk with so much like cheekiness, and they know what they're doing. But the most important thing is that they are helping the scene to develop. They are I firmly believe they will be one of those reasons that in a few years' time that we have a very, very healthy, not just women's scene, but a mixed scene eventually, you know, hopefully. And I meant what I said when I want to see them go far at Challengers. I want to see them go far at Masters, and of course to be able to compete globally as well. But that's just, I'll stop gushing. Vansili and Jess, what did you make of that interview and what she was talking about?
I love it as well. I love it as well to come out with that confidence and to say, look, I'm an upgrade to this team. We can see how strong we are with me into this roster. We're going to be unstoppable going into this one right now. To have that confidence also, it reminds me kind of like a TSM back in the beta days where it's like, hey, we're walking in with all that swagger and all that. And the way that you walk in with that confidence, it shows how any team that you've beaten is like, no, I'm not going to let that happen next time. So it's going to do nothing but elevate these teams and give them that thirst to say, you guys think you're the best? That's not going to happen. We're catching up to this one. We're going to bring some close series. We're even going to beat you, and your era is going to end very quickly. And I hope to see that going into the future tournaments here for Game Changers.
It's twofold, isn't it, Vans and Yinsu? My problem is with it is that if I was another player and I started my esports career as a player and I heard another team, not only did Mel the other day sit there and go, we're better, because let's be honest, Yinsu, that's what she said. She pretty much said, you know, in enclosed words that they were better than everyone else, right? And I respected it tenfold because she matched it with results. If you can't match it with results, don't speak high. Okay, you're on your high horse, you don't deserve to be there. However, C9 White are on the high horse respectfully, and all of their matches that they've won have risen them up on that echelon. On the other side of it, as I was a player, I'd be like, you are talking so much smack, and I will train 7 days a week for however many months so I can knock you off that echelon and show you that you aren't unbeatable, you aren't untouchable. And so for me, I think it's a perfect little spark to the fire that a lot of these women's teams and all the co-ed teams and stuff need, because you can't underestimate I suppose your opponents when they really do get a fire lit underneath them. I mean, Moon Raccoons, best example.
Oh yeah, Moon Raccoons are going to have the best redemption story. I can guarantee that. I do not see them not challenging for that final next time. But that is the end of the competition. And we do, let's have a look at the bracket one more time so you guys can see for the last time how Cloud9 made this journey, how they managed to go all the way through, as we were saying, absolutely flawlessly 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. And in a grand final, it was technically a 2-0 Vansili because they had a map advantage.
Pretty much, right? And looking at it so far, and yes, we only see the top 8, but I have to give it for the other teams that competed throughout the group stages. I think it was 32 teams, 4 groups of 8 that all challenged each other to make it down to the final 8 of this one too. But yes, definitely Cloud9 was that unstoppable force, and they've proven it through every single one of their matches that they are the team to look out for, they're the team to study, and now that there's more footage out of these game changers, again, I think it's only going to evolve the scene that we have for the women's side.
You can't put it better than that. That's it. Evolution for the women's teams, for the women players that are playing and making up these teams, to aspiring players who are sitting there watching this series either now or into the future going, how do I get into these teams? What do I have to do? What do I have to aspire for? I mean, listen to some of these women talk in the interviews. Listen to how they got into the teams. You know, have a little bit of confidence about you to go, I am good at Valorant and I do have what it takes to be the next, you know, big Raze or Sova player or duelist or whatever it is that you want to come in and be, and then go and put the practice in to go and be that, because at the end of the day, you know, no one's going to walk up to your front door, ding dong, here's your silver platter, you're on C9 white, you know what I mean? That's not how it works.
You work
these
for
days.
it.
You got to put in the hard work. You got to, and that's probably the best thing about this this Game Changers presented by Verizon, is that it gave that platform for women to do that, to show that they could put rounds up against good teams, and that should give them a lot of fuel going into the future to say, hey, especially I know I keep bringing up Moon Liquids, but those young players there, as Katie pointed out, that's going to put a kicker underneath them to go, we put up a lot of rounds against C9 White, who are undoubtedly one of the best teams in all of North America for our particular region. Then we should probably start putting in more work. We can get close.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for the last time, we're also going to bring you guys a flick of the day, and this one is going to be very familiar. I feel like it's always... It's always who we think it is. I'm telling you right now.
Yes.
That was so clean, actually. The 2 shots that she's gone into this clip, like look how fast it. The thing is, Jess, you talk about how Icebox is like a fun map that you like to play, but as a player that plays a different game where verticality is like, in a tactical shooter is like the bane of my existence, to have the crosshair placements from where she was at, like looking at the nest, back at the belt, at the pipe, flicking down towards that orb side for that second kill, it takes a lot of skill. It takes a lot of skill.
Of course, yeah. Thank you to Aim Lab as well for always being there for us for these amazing highlights. Petition to change it to Benita's flick of the day the next time we do this, because I think 3 days in a row now it's been Benita. She just does
her Aim Labs on the weekend. That's all she does. I know she's not scrimming. She's just on Aim Labs, which is fair enough. That's why she's able to hit those flicks. So,
I mean, it works, right? But like I said, this is the end. We have our winner. We have our runner-up. It's been real. Guys, I'm so glad to have shared this day and 4 days with the two of you. And before we close everything off, Vansili, any last thoughts?
Looking forward for the future of the scene right now, dude. This year has been amazing for Valorant, just in its growth overall. But to see how fast things have been going right now for our Riot and for our Valorant, it's been nothing but good. I mean, as a fan, if I'm not casting, I'm watching these events, and there's just always events happening. If it's not like the major ones that we see with Game Changers, with the Masters, with the Challengers, there's also so many of these Tier 2, these monthlies that has so much traction, and so much of these player base and these teams that are trying to make it into the scene. So I'm very excited of how far we've come already in a year.
Oh, that's a really good way to put it. And from someone like me coming in from another game and going, excuse me, Valorant community, please hold my hand and take me in and walk me along this path that is Valorant, as it is skyrocketing into being one of the top 5 games in the world, I would say, at the moment, especially in the FPS scene. For me right now, I believe our producers told us that this event alone, especially in these playoffs, in this grand final, it is the most watched women's event that has occurred ever. Is that, am I putting this right? I don't want to say anything incorrect, but from what I'm reading, supposedly is one of the most watched women's event. I mean, this can only get bigger. Once you put something at a certain standard, it only grows from there. Shout out to the Valorant community. You guys are awesome. These girls love you. We love you. Thank you.
Very well said, both of you. Thank you so much for joining me. This has honestly been very iconic. I hate using that, overusing that, but it has been very iconic. But I couldn't have done it without you, Vansili and Jess. So thank you very much. Of course, thank you to all of our other casters as well, to Tanner, to Sam, to Ryan, to Moxie, Miss Harvey, and of course Evil Cat. I'm really hoping I haven't forgotten anyone. But also thank you to our production and observers. You guys have smashed it again. Couldn't have done this without you guys. And of course Verizon and AimLab as well. Thank you most of all to you guys at home for watching. Congratulations once again to Cloud9 White and all of the teams that participated throughout the qualifiers and of course the playoffs as well. As always, we love and appreciate all of your support. I guess we'll see you guys next time.
One enemy remaining.